The story of Emily Pike certainly did. We've reported extensively on this poor 14-year-old girl who ran away from her group home, and then 3 weeks later, her dismembered body was found. We're joined tonight by investigative journalist Robert Anglin from the Arizona Republic. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
I don't know what it is about this story that has resonated. I guess it's that we think 14-year-old girls and 12, when apparently a lot of this started, shouldn't be dealing with things like being placed in a group home, taken away from your home, trying to run away multiple times, trying suicide multiple times, and every entity that could have helped her failed her.
That's what her relatives say. That's absolute.
So what did you find out?
Well, what we found out is she kind of imploded 18 months ago when she was sexually assaulted on a hill behind her home by what relatives say is a relative and frequent visitor of her mother's house.
So she was taken out of the home, put in a group home, and did or did not receive psychological help?
Apparently she did.
She did. But maybe it didn't help because she, on numerous occasions, tried to run away, at least once came back. I mean, this poor young thing was just so traumatized.
Right, and one of the things that's just shocking about the cases that we found, Tribal Game and Fish was the one tasked with investigating the sexual assault. Why Game and Fish? We don't know the answer to that.
As opposed to a tribal police department?
Correct.
And no answers on that from the tribe?
No, in fact, the tribe has refused to answer, and no tribal official has responded to our questions until late Monday night when the tribe issued a statement saying they intend to investigate why this happened 2 years later.
And where does the investigation stand, do you know?
Well, they say they're going to hire independent police consultants to look at how the case fell through the cracks, as it were, and why tribal police, not the police department, the specialized police department, investigated this sexual assault.
This issue on Native American land has been going on for years. They say it's the silent epidemic. So many indigenous women disappearing and being murdered. They are murdered at a rate of 10 times the general population of the U.S. What the heck is going on?
You know, a lot of people have asked me about that, and my only answer is, it's a terrible answer. It's banality. This isn't some creeping stalker in the night. These are individual situations. The women are targeted by people they know, people they love, in most cases, and then they're disposed of. They're tossed away. And what happens is investigation after investigation, if they start at all, fail. And so these women are left forgotten. And I think people don't want a 14-year-old to be found and left discarded.
Discarded and in such a terrible situation. The other thing, and it sounds like maybe you ran into this, I know that we have as a news organization, the tribes in general play things very, very close to the vest. And do you think that in some ways U.S. agencies that might normally investigate the murder or say, hey, we're here to help, are turned away?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that there is a lot of push and pull. In fact, we heard from the Gila County Sheriff that that's a factor in the ongoing homicide investigation, this relationship between the tribal police and the county sheriffs and the FBI, who are all investigating the murder now.
I know you spoke with some of her family members, and there were a lot of people that wouldn't speak to you for your investigation. What are her family members saying? Are they frustrated with the lack of response and and I'm putting this in quotation marks, sweeping it under the rug by the tribe?
That's actually a phrase that they used. Not only they didn't even know that she'd been sexually assaulted until about a month and a half ago, after her body was found. That's when her grandmother was at the side of the road. As you know, her body was found in a pair of trash bags, dismembered.
Right.
And her grandmother was at that site paying respects when an officer drove up and began talking to her and telling her about the sexual assault that occurred in 2023. And she was crushed. She didn't know how to respond to that. And that's how the family learned that she had been assaulted that the tribal prosecutors dropped the case without charging him. A suspect had been identified and arrested. They even said that Emily made the 911 call herself, reported her own attack.
It just seems like all of the things that we demand on this side of Pima Road and all of the other areas where the Native American tribal reservation ends and everything else begins, is that there is no transparency. They don't seem to believe in it.
No, they don't. And when you ask, their position is, leave us alone.
Yeah.
And that's being reflected now on social media. She's dead, she's gone. People say, don't bother, don't upset. There's no story here.
Well, unfortunately, she is not the only woman of indigenous culture who has disappeared, and it's people like you and us and the people out there that need to keep asking those questions so that we don't have another case like this, so that we find the killer or killers who took her life and other indigenous women's lives.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Robert, thank you. Great investigative work. If you ever find yourself in a crisis or someone you know needs help, call the U.S. Suicide Prevention Hotline, dial 988 to reach a real person 24 hours a day. You don't have to be suicidal to give them a call. If you just need an understanding ear, they are there to listen.